What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the 20-Minute Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Mick Manhattan, the Scene Snob, a.k.a. the Ring Snob, when I'm up here talking about wrestling. And it's a big weekend. We had Wrestle Kingdom 14, and this year we had 2 days of fun. So much going on, and man, let me tell you, some of the best wrestling I think I've ever seen. And I love when they pull out these matches. And New Japan just knows how to pull it out perfectly. And, once I kind of go over it, so there's going to be some spoilers. I'm going to kind of go over all the results and stuff like that. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out because the matches were insane. And some great stuff. So if I butcher any names, because I don't normally talk about New Japan on the podcast, and that's going to start changing in the year 2020, I'm going to be adding more because there is more and it needs to be talked about. Wrestling is not just for WWE and AEW. And, we got some very cool stuff going on. So we had, like I said, we had 2 nights. Now I could go over Raw, I could go over NXT was an award show this week. AEW was it was a great show, and it was great coming back. So real quick before I get into Wrestle Kingdom, AEW, we saw the Elite basically win everything this week, which was finally nice in the new year. We got to see Omega, the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, Dustin, all winning because they've been kind of taking a back seat up until now, and it's been building and building, and people wanted to see these great names, great wrestlers finally pull out some victories, and they did, and it was a very cool episode. So if you haven't checked it out, you should. SmackDown was okay. We saw a lot of returns, which was cool. Some good setups, hopefully going forward. It was kind of teased that if Daniel Bryan wins at Royal Rumble, he wins against the Fiend, and Roman Reigns wins the Royal Rumble. That maybe we could get a WrestleMania with the two of them, and that would be a solid match. I actually really wouldn't mind seeing that. Out of all of the WrestleMania Roman Reigns matches we've seen in the past some years, that would be one that I don't think would be boring. Certainly not, because Roman is a good wrestler. Superman punch aside, if you don't know, I hate that move with every inch of my body, an ounce of my soul. I hate the Superman punch. I think it's stupid. I think he does a beautiful spear. He does it better than Goldberg did it. And I will argue that. And I think that should just be his finishing move. But with that being said, he is a good wrestler, and he plays the big man so well. So it'd be cool to see Daniel Bryan go up against him. Kind of over the Fiend. Let the Fiend just be the heel that kind of lurks around and takes people out. I would be awesome with that. So that was kind of hinted at. Hopefully we go that direction, but we will see. I mean, there's a lot. Never know what happened with Royal Rumble. We got Sheamus came back, heel. Love that. I love that he's back as a heel. He's a perfect heel. And I guess it's going to be a solo act for now. Unless he did throw the Revival out of the ring and then he super kicked Chad Gable, Shorty G, whatever he wants to call himself these days. So I'm wondering if maybe throwing the Revival out of the ring means he and Cesaro are going to come back together, but I don't know. Cesaro's doing pretty good on his own right now, teamed up with Nakamura. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we can get League of Nations back. Who knows? But regardless, it was an okay episode. We got a good match between Kofi Kingston and The Miz. Kind of a turn of events there. So it was pretty solid. Then we got John Morrison came back. He didn't wrestle. He just kind of showed up. Did a little thing like he was in the Miz's dressing room. So maybe we can get them back together. Who knows? Get the heel to turn and get them back together. That would be awesome. But the big news this weekend, or this week, I should say, even though it was this weekend, it covers the whole week because it was just amazing, was Wrestle Kingdom 14 in New Japan. So at the Tokyo Dome, of course, where it always is. Well, this is the new Tokyo Dome, but we had some of the best matches. I'm going to go over the night 1 card, kind of talk about that a little bit, and then I'm going to go over the night 2. Okay, so starting off, we had Okada versus Ibushi for the Heavyweight Championship, IWGP. Okada defeated Ibushi with the pinfall. So he retained his title. So he was moving forward to night 2, and he was going against whoever won the Intercontinental Championship match, which was Naito and Jay White. Naito defeated Jay White. And the losers, which would be Ibushi and Jay White, they were going to go against each other, but that was for a non-title. We'll get to that because they're both solid matches in the second night. But the Okada-Ibushi match was phenomenal. Some of the best work I've ever seen. And let me go down the line. I just want to cover all the matches. So I said Naito, he defeated Jay White, and he won the Intercontinental Championship. Then you had the Junior Heavyweight Championship, which was Takahashi and Will Ospreay, and Takahashi defeated Ospreay. Probably my favorite match of the weekend. I'll just say that right now. Just beautiful match. Ospreay is amazing in the ring. Then we had the United States Championship. It was a Texas Death Match too, which was pretty cool. Moxley versus Lance Archer. But he won via countout, which, I mean, for a Texas Death Match kind of works. But Moxley won the U.S. Championship, which is a huge thing. That is huge. Going forward. So he got it back. And, you know, it was set up beautifully. So we'll talk more about that, though. Then you had Tag Team Championships, which was FinJuice, which is David Finlay and Juice Robinson, who would both, I think just Juice Robinson went on to wrestle the second night. They defeated the Guerrillas of Destiny. Chaos versus the Bullet Club. Chaos defeated the Bullet Club, which was awesome, and which worked well in the storyline because Kenta comes back into play the next night, and I'll go over that. Suzuki Gun versus, and I always get this wrong, so bear with me, Los Ingo Bernabas de Japón. I don't know them well enough, but I always mess up their name. Then we had the first of 2 retirement matches for Liger. We had Sano, Otani, Takeyawa, and Taguchi. They defeated. Yeah, first night he got defeated. Liger, Fujinami, the Great Suzuki, and Tiger Mask. Now it works. Liger has had a very long career. It's a storied career, and he was going to lose his last match, which is in night 2. It was very surprising to see him lose this match. So this man took the fall and put somebody else over in this match, and he took the pin. Yeah, he took the pinfall is what I mean. So for him to do that, it's just beautiful. It just shows that he, after all these years, is all about the sport. He cares about the sport. It's not about him going out on top. It's very much reminiscent of, if it happened, if it stayed this way, I wish it still wasn't against Roman Reigns, but when The Undertaker laid to rest his jacket and cap in the ring and then walked out, it was at WrestleMania 33, and that was his retirement. He was done. It was beautiful. But we had, so, because you lay down, you put the other guy over, and you get that for your retirement match. I understood that then. I understand that with Liger now. I was kind of hoping he would have won one of them, but the fact that he put the other guys over and he took the pinfall was a beautiful thing. So that was night 1. So then going into night 2, the results being, all right, so then you had a double championship match. You had the heavyweight championship, Okada versus the Intercontinental Champion, Naito. Now, if you don't know their story, go back and look at it. You can find their old matches, watch them. These guys put on amazing matches. And now, even though Okada and Ibushi are great matches within themselves, the story is Okada and Naito. Why? Because Okada never believed Naito was on his level. And you go through all these matches, and you finally, this is the culmination of that story. There is no more story past this. This is where it goes. This is for the championships. You're going to be double belts. You're going to be 2 belts Becky at the end of this. And it's funny you bring that up because I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. And then you get Naito winning. Naito beat Okada and is now the 2 belt champion. Now, before I go on, because there's more to the story, I want to kind of go over the rest of the matches. And then I want to talk a little bit more in depth about that match, the Moxley match, and the Jericho match, and what they mean in the future going forward. So Naito beat Okada to become double champ. Then you had the Chris Jericho Tanahashi fight. Beautiful. I mean, as Chris Jericho coming back into Japan and doing this at his veteran age, and still being able to hang, it just shows you he's one of the greatest of all time. He does beautifully. And I love where he's at. He is the champion of AEW. This new thing that's coming up. He left WWE, in my opinion, on top. He left because if you remember, it was 2 years ago before he really left. He had the whole turn with Kevin Owens turning heel, and then this big match, and then he got hurt, which was a work, so that way he could go and tour with Fozzy, his band, and then there was an epic match with AJ Styles versus, and it is still one of the best matches. It goes down in one of my favorite matches of all time. And even the setup. There was a SmackDown episode. I remember it was right here in DC. Because I wanted to get tickets for me and my 7-year-old to go, and we couldn't. He got sick that night, so we couldn't go. And we watched it at home, and it was just like, oh my God, what did we miss? And it was Owens in the main event, Owens versus AJ Styles for the, I want to say it's the U.S. Championship. And Jericho made his return that night. And he made his return, so it became a triple threat match. This match, it went over in time. It was amazing. It was still one of my favorite matches. If you can look it up, go look it up. It was beautiful. I want to say it was 2017. Might have been 18. No, it was 2018. I'm sorry. Somewhere, I think it was like around early July or late June 2018. So, just beautiful, just gorgeous. And the reason I say that is because then shortly after that, he left. And he was doing his own thing. He was kind of taking a break. And he did the cruise. And then, like, you heard about AEW. And then he came back with AEW. And maybe it was 2017. Sorry. So he left there. Then he went to AEW. Becomes champion. He becomes the first ever champion of AEW. Now, AEW is the only thing, a lot of people are making comparisons to WCW, and I get that out of there. They're trying to do better. They're trying to learn from what happened with WCW, and they're trying to treat wrestling as wrestling, with wrestlers being wrestlers, and I love it. They're treating it like a real sport. They're more in tune with what New Japan does, which New Japan's been around forever, and so then you have that going on, and he becomes the AEW World Champion. In between then, like, he had some amazing matches. Over in New Japan, he was making a big name for himself. He had the Omega, his big beef with Omega for a while, and that was huge. And then he becomes AEW champion. And look where he is now. So now he's going back over to New Japan, which is a huge thing. And he's fighting Tanahashi, who's a younger guy, comparatively is a younger guy. Not too young, very definitely experienced. And they have a great match. And he holds his own in that match. And that's what I'm trying to say about Chris Jericho. Count him out if you want. Talk about whatever you want. Say whatever you will about him. The guy is one of the greatest of all time. And he should go down as such. So, with that rant being aside, then you have Jay White and Ibushi. They were the loser match that came back to fight each other for night 2. Jay White defeated Ibushi, which was surprising. To see Ibushi lose 2 nights in a row. I could see Jay White doing it, set up that way, but Ibushi losing 2 nights in a row, I'm very surprised about that. And then you had the Never Openweight Championship, which was Goto defeated Kenta for it, which is a big thing. Because, and it kind of had to happen, because Kenta comes back later, and it was pretty huge. And it's going to set up a big rivalry. Now that Naito's out of his rivalry with Okada, they're setting up for the next thing, and I love it. I love it because it's great wrestling storytelling. So then you had Moxley come back again. He defeated Juice Robinson. Then you had the British Heavyweight Championship. Zack Sabre versus Junior versus Sonata. And Sabre won. Then you had the Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship. Roppongi 3K defeated Ishimori and El Fantasmo. And then you had Takahashi versus Lee defeated Liger and Sano. Which again, I thought Liger was going to win the second day. Go out, like your retirement, you went out, and that's how it worked. But he lost both matches. He put the guys over. And that says something about the guy. For him to go out and really just... It's a truly beautiful thing, because for him to go out and do that means that he respected the sport more than anything else. More than his storied career. He didn't need that. He didn't need to walk out and be like, okay, well, he won, blah, blah, blah. He was one of the best of all time. It's going to be remembered that he put the guys over. And it means something. And it just... I loved every second of it. And then you had so many setups this weekend, too. And what that says to me... So, let me start with the United States Championship. Okay, so Moxley won both nights. He is the U.S. champion. He's an AEW star. And he comes back and he does his time in New Japan. And it works for him. Now, a lot of people... I've read some rumors. And again, I'm going to state that these are rumors. And if they are true, it's very sad. And the reason I say this is kind of a substantiated rumor is because Corey Graves put it out there on his podcast, and stating that, he talks to Moxley sometimes, even though it's kind of frowned upon in WWE. That's such bull. And not on his end, on the end of, if WWE is doing that, and again, I'm considering them rumors. You're treating this guy, no wonder this guy left. You're shunning him, and you're saying your talent it's frowned upon if you talk to him. His wife works for the WWE. Like, cut the guy some credit. He was part of the Shield, a huge faction in WWE, who made them a lot of money on merchandise, I'm sure. And this is how he gets treated? It was like, no wonder he left. And I hate the fact that it has to be like that. If it is, again, treat it as a rumor. So, but look at him now. He was just Dean Ambrose when he was in WWE. He was treated like a mid-card guy, where I was like, if you really push him, and you really, like, they gave a push, a Stone Cold type push for Kevin Owens, and then completely dismantled that with Shane McMahon stepping all over him and not taking the bumps that his dad took to put Stone Cold over. Whereas they should have been doing that to put Owens over. You had the perfect Stone Cold type, if pushed that way and written that well, in Dean Ambrose. That's all that guy needed. He had pushes. He had championships. He had a chance. And he got shut down time after time, made a joke of. And so the guy left. Why wouldn't the guy leave? Why wouldn't the guy take off? And he left, and I argue his career has been 1,000 times better since he left. He's had great matches in AEW. He's on top at AEW. He's got a big storyline going right now. He's the next in line to fight Jericho for the AEW championship. Right now there's a big storyline with him in the Inner Circle. So with that, and they're kind of using him in a way where I don't want to say Sting. No, don't get mad at me, fans. I know, I love Sting. He's one of my favorite of all time. But what I'm saying is a Sting type, where I think he shouldn't join. I think he should be against Inner Circle, but I also think needs to be against the Elite. He needs to be his own thing, like Sting was until, we saw where all that went. But he should be his own thing in the sense of what Sting was supposed to be. And what Sting was in TNA and things like that. So, with that being said, you do that with Moxley, but he goes out, and now he's the champ. He's a U.S. champion as well in New Japan. That is no slouch thing. That is not, just because they're not on the level of AEW in America and they don't have the TV rights right now, does not mean it's a slouch thing for him to be the champion, the U.S. champion. It's a really big thing, and we should be holding him to that high regard. So in two different big wrestling companies, he's kind of bridging this gap. He's one of them bridging this gap. Jericho, I would argue, is another. And I'll get into that in a second. But, so he wins. After the Juice Robinson match, Suzuki comes out and demolishes him. You think, okay, he won the belt. It's over. He's going to, he'll wrestle, come back, and he'll do something. But in a perfect line of storytelling, which I would argue WWE doesn't know how to do anymore, you got Suzuki coming out and set up the heat. And this is the second time it happened in this on day 2. Suzuki comes out, pile drives him, and boom, he just puts his foot on him, holds up the belt. You know what that means. You're going to have a great rivalry coming back. And it's going to be fantastic. Cannot wait to see where this goes. So, that's what's going on with Moxley. And now that leaves the door open again. He is the champion over in New Japan with the U.S. Championship. So, he has to come back. He has to come back and lose a belt. But he also has to work in AEW, which is what it is. Going a little over time, so I want to kind of finish this up. Naito. They set him up perfectly. Kenta comes out. He wins. He's Mr. Two Belts right now. He is holding both belts, the Intercontinental and the Heavyweight Championship. Belts mean everything in New Japan. Belts mean everything, as they should. Belts should be what you're thriving for. And he is now a double champion. That is a big feat. And unlike what they could have done with Becky, which is when she won a double championship, set something up and have somebody else come out, and immediately after WrestleMania, okay, she won the belts, this is a huge thing, where they make it very celebratory, and they did that with Daniel Bryan the whole night, when he won the 2 belts. They should have set up the next day. Not the next day, set up the heat. You set up in the end of that show. You make people come back the next day. What is going on? But anyway, that's WWE and their poor writing aside. You have Naito holding up both belts. Okada gives him the respect. They stand together. Okada walks out. Naito is celebrating. Kenta from the Bullet Club comes out. Boom. Tears him apart and walks off. Saunters off into the night. Holds up both belts and saunters off. Because that's what it is. You were setting up. The man sat on his chest while holding the belts. Sat on his chest. You know how demeaning that is? And Naito, a double champion who just strove to get there, finally had 2 huge matches this weekend. Has somebody sitting on his chest. Has his next opponent sitting on his chest. That's storytelling for you. That's setting up a rivalry. And I wish more companies would do it. AEW does it pretty well because they understand. Because these guys come from Japan. I wish WWE would understand that. Start setting it up that way. It's all dog food and it's all Baron Corbin back again versus Roman Reigns, because that's what it is. Set up a rivalry. Set up something new. Once it's over, set up something new. And make people come back for more. And of course, the whole stipulation for the Jericho-Tanahashi match was Tanahashi wins, he gets a chance at the AEW title. So for what? All week, people are speculating. Does this mean that New Japan and AEW are going to be working together? Is that what we're going to get here? Is there going to be a gap that's just like now bridged through this? And everybody's like, well, Jericho has to lose. So Tanahashi can challenge for the belt. Nope. Jericho won. But does that mean it's counted out? I wonder myself. I wonder if it's counted out. I don't think it is. I think that we're going to get something with New Japan. Now it is kind of weird that this year you had no Cody Rhodes, you had no Bucks, you had no Omega. No, tensions were high since they left to go to AEW with Japan, but I think having Moxley and having Jericho out there for this Wrestle Kingdom and giving the matches that they had, and Jericho and Moxley both getting over, getting the wins this weekend, both wins, is a huge deal. It shows a lot of what's going to happen. And the fact that Moxley is now in a new rivalry with Suzuki, and I don't think Jericho and Tanahashi are done. I really don't. Especially the fact that Jericho won with a submission. So I think we're going to get a lot more. And I'm hoping we can get the two together and just kind of do some kind of cross promotion type thing. I would love to see AEW have some of the New Japan stars come out and really open it up to wrestling fans who don't know Japan and don't know their way of wrestling. Open it up to all new fans, just like now you're opening up New Japan to a whole world of American stars who have never been in Japan before. So, and tag teams that you would love to see over there, and different factions and things like that. Like, it would be amazing. So that's really where the whole show was. Like, it was just a truly brilliant show and some of the best times in wrestling as you could get. And I truly loved every second of it. Now, with that being said, I want to know what you guys thought. So did you love it? Did you watch it? If you didn't watch it, look up the highlights, check it out, and make sure you're commenting and or messaging or whatever else. I want to hear what you guys have to say. And you can do that by liking and subscribing to this video on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram. I am at the Scene Snob on Twitter and Instagram. And also the Scene Snob's Facebook page. I answer quite a bit on there. I get a lot of messages and requests on there. So please feel free to add to it. And go to www.thescenesnobs.com and check out more of our stuff. This video and more. So definitely looking forward to hearing from you guys and seeing what you guys thought in the upcoming days and seeing where wrestling is going after this. All right. So take care, guys, and that's it.